It's gonna be this way.
Swim so free.
A Capitol Hill to
Soccer bopper.
The 21st century, mankind has colonized the last unexplored region on Earth, the ocean. As captain of the SeaQuest and its crew, we are its guardians. For beneath the surface lies the future.
All right, here we are. Back again. And this is episode number 18, I believe, of Tune In Next Week.
Big ol' 18.
The episode, this is the podcast where we break down TV shows from the 80s and 90s and post-baby boom era for you wonderful, fantastically, wonderfully fabulous people that listen to us all the time. And speaking of us, this is John.
And this is Brian.
Brian, what's up, dude? How are you, man?
I feel great.
That's awesome, man. It's great to see you today. I got to say, it's a beautiful day.
It's a very lovely day out. The weather's fine.
Yeah, and happy daylight savings time.
Yes.
Because this is the first time we're recording this podcast, and it is still daylight outside.
It's
kind of
weird. Yeah.
It is weird. Because I'm used to doing this podcast, in the evening, and it's dark out and kind of mellow, and it's like I look outside, and it's like I feel like I should be outside frolicking.
Can we do that after this?
Of course.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, let's frolic.
Yeah, we will go outside and frolic afterwards, but we can't frolic until we talk about the TV show that we are doing this week, which is one that we kind of last minute picked. But it's a show called SeaQuest DSV or SeaQuest 2032, depending on which version you're watching there. Season 3 was actually called SeaQuest 2032, but it was called SeaQuest DSV, ran for 3 seasons, 1993 to 1996, for 59 episodes, and really interesting show about pretty much Star Trek, but underwater.
Yeah, that's a really good observation. I got a lot of Star Trek vibes from the SeaQuest ship itself, and just from the show in general.
Yeah, I mean, I really felt, and I'm sure you'd agree with this. I really felt like who are the creators of this, and I forgot to write their names down, but the creators were just kind of hanging around, maybe drinking some Jim Beam one night and being like, "Let's put the Starship Enterprise underwater and call it something else." And then they made a whole show about it.
I think it worked.
Yeah,
That was really good. A really good show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this was called SeaQuest DSV, and ran only for 3 seasons, 1993 and 1996, for 59 episodes. I don't know if I said that already, but hey, if not,
You did. But this particular episode, it aired on. This was episode 13, the one we just watched.
Right now, for some reason, IMDb says it's season 12. Sorry, season 1, episode 12. But it's season 1, episode 13 if you're watching it on Netflix. But the name of the episode is Photon Bullet.
Yes.
And originally aired when? I forgot. I didn't write that down.
December 19th, 93.
Gotcha. This was the last episode of 1993 moving into 94. Now, if you guys want to watch this, it is only available on Netflix for streaming. And you can buy seasons 1 and 2 on DVD from Amazon. Season 3 does not appear to be available for purchase anywhere.
I'm sure you could find it somewhere, but it's not
obvious. There hasn't been a U.S. release.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, before we jump into anything, should we take care of business first?
Yeah, let's take care of some business.
All right. I think we're going to do that. So, as usual, if you guys want to check out our main base of operations, our website is tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. And speaking of base of operations, we just want to sort of give a quick shout out to JB Recording. JB Recording is actually the recording studio that we use to prepare these wonderful podcasts for you, even more wonderful people. So check out www.jbrecording.com for all of your recording studio needs, should you have any. And then as far as connecting with us here, we're on Twitter at tunein_nextweek. We're on Instagram, tunein_nextweek. Tumblr, tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. We are also on the TuneIn app. So if you have that for listening to internet radio, that's a great way you can check out our podcast. We're there on TuneIn. Then, of course, you can subscribe to us on iTunes via our website. We are on YouTube as well. You can get there from our website. If you can subscribe to us on YouTube, we'd certainly appreciate it. The more subscribers we get, the more likely we are to be able to get our own YouTube URL, YouTube email address, YouTube website address. So please subscribe to us on YouTube. We would definitely appreciate it. Did I miss anything?
That's it.
Wow, cool.
I was counting.
Nice. So we just did taking care of business.
Let's end the business. For it has concluded.
The business has concluded.
It has.
You ever wonder, what does it mean when someone says you're on the business end of this?
The business end is the end that does all of the business. If you're on the business end of a cattle prod looking silenced photon gun, you'd be on the business end of that.
That's right, and very good segue. We're going to jump into this episode here. We'll talk about that in just a second. Plot synopsis here. Lucas, dissatisfied with his job, is invited to stay with a group of IT workers who moonlight as hackers, stealing money for humanitarian purposes and their charismatic leader.
So, very interesting plot synopsis. Before we get into the episode itself, couple of things. I had heard of the show. I was kind of aware of it, and then as I got older, forgot about it completely. So I can say I had never seen a single episode, or I can't remember seeing any single episode, but it was just one of those things that was on at the time. I knew about it and just didn't care for it.
And, especially with Star Trek being as successful as it was, somebody might not have been as interested or as sort of, jazzed about like, oh, there's an underwater Star Trek, I guess it may or may not have grabbed enough people, and that's why it only lasted 3 seasons. And would you say that might have been the case for you?
I would say so, because it wasn't as popular. I mean, it was popular for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Well, back in the 90s, your show could actually run for a couple of seasons before it was canceled. It wasn't like today where you run a season, maybe half a season, and if you don't get the ratings, you're axed before you can even get your story arcs off the ground.
Right.
But
and I mean, especially even today with social media and whatnot, it's very easy to see how well your show is doing. If it's getting just absolutely ripped to shreds on social media, people are going to know, the executives are going to know not to even bother continuing with it because it just isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, which is a shame, because sometimes you get some great ideas that if only they could get past the second season,
yep,
they could really blossom into something awesome.
For sure.
This, I've got a lot of questions about this show, so I apologize in advance if I kind of slow it down a bit. But
yeah, no problem. And just for those listeners here, this is a show that I recommended. It's one that I've watched. I watched a lot when I was a kid. I can't say that I've seen every single episode, but I have seen a large number of them, probably at least 75-80% of them. And I just instantly fell in love with it because I loved the technological aspect of how the ship worked and how the SeaQuest worked, and I really enjoy that type of a show just as much as I enjoyed Star Trek, Next Generation specifically. So, I was a big fan of the show growing up, and I was really glad to see that it was available for Netflix streaming so we could watch it. Because otherwise we'd have to buy the DVDs, which I think I'm going to do anyway because it's certainly a show I'd watch over and over again.
Yeah. So. Before we get into the episode,
yeah, if you want to hit me with just whatever questions you got, I'll get them out of the way here to the best of my ability.
First thing off the bat, what is DSV?
Deep Submerged Vehicle.
Deep Submerged Vehicle. So as we started this show, again, only read the synopsis, didn't really, again, peripherally aware of it. Right. I was under the false impression that this was going to be a underground lab. So I'm a big fan of Sea Lab 2021 from Adult Swim, the cartoon show. So I was I was under that presumption that we're going to be going into a show that is taking place at a lab in a fixed location.
Not a ship.
As it turned out, as I watched the episode, I was able to infer that, this is a traveling ship that goes around in circles and stuff.
Right.
What if you can tell me, and if not, we'll move forward from here.
Okay.
But what is the prime directive? What is the point of this SeaQuest vehicle?
So basically, the SeaQuest essentially has the same function as the Starship Enterprise in Star Trek. It is a vessel that can be dispatched to various areas of the ocean, because in this story arc, in this reality, the ocean has been colonized. So there are people living on the surface of the Earth, and then there's also people living beneath the surface, and there's people living underwater. So the SeaQuest was basically developed as not like a police vehicle, but it's almost like a way to kind of like just a guardian of the sort of the underwater underwater aquatic life, or people living under the water kind of thing.
So even as deep as the Mariana Trench, there are colonies kind of sprinkled throughout the ocean floor.
Yes.
So the sea has been mapped, and this is just the SeaQuest is just kind of floats around, getting into adventures and
helping people
studying
out, yeah.
and helping. Okay.
Yep.
All right. That's because two things. The show, of course, this came out December 1993.
Right.
When the opening scene shows us the date, which is March 2010.
2019.
It's 2019?
Yeah, well, no, I'm sorry. I think the opening scene that you're referring to, like, before the credits?
Yes, before the credits.
Yeah, okay, that was 2010.
Yes, so yeah,
Okay.
that's 2010.
Right.
I did write down that second date also.
Right.
That's January 2019.
Right.
Something like that. But yeah, let's,
There's one question I'm surprised you didn't ask. You didn't ask what UEO was.
Oh, I didn't. No. I guess I have that written down on my notes. We can get into that now. What is UEO?
United Earth Oceans. It's the kind of like the UN, but for the underwater government.
So everything underwater is its own country.
Essentially, so like I guess the UN is like the United Nations. They deal with the nations and the countries on the surface. UEO is the United Earth Oceans. They are the fellowship or the group of colonist regions kind of thing. Like that. That's what I understand it to be. They are the home base of SeaQuest.
Okay, so UEO came up a few times. One of the times it was in regards to encryption.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that must be just a form of encryption, like AES or something like that.
Right. No, nope, it's a place.
When they said
it,
they said it again at the end. They said it in reference to what sounded like an organization, and then
that's what it is.
Then I kind of perked up, but before that, UEO to me, I was like, oh yeah, that's just a method of encryption.
Okay. Well, I mean, for all we know, maybe they did come up with their own kind of encryption for their data, but
they did.
Yes, but apparently it wasn't good enough. But anyway, so let's jump into the episode, shall we?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So we start out with somebody's up to no good, kind of breaking into some kind of high security computer area.
Yeah, we've got a guy. The camera work is very telling, and we'll get into this later as well. But the guy comes up to a card reader. The camera doesn't show their face; it just shows them from like the shoulder down. And he puts on what appears to be a Nintendo Power Glove.
Right, but I took issue with this because if he was trying to fake a palm reader or something, he had this really thick leather glove.
Yeah,
there's no possible chance of fingerprints, and unless the contraption that he was wearing had some sort of fingerprint, mimicking device on the tips, which I didn't even see anything on the tips. But you're right. It looked like a Nintendo Power Glove that he was using to fake a fingerprint ID entry into a secure area.
Well, you know what? Better yet, it looked like a black dish glove, like you wear when you're washing dishes, but all black. And somebody had taken
he's up to no good, so it had to be all black.
A rectangular green circuit board, put it on the top of it with a little small numbered keypad across the knuckles, and there's like a ribbon cable underneath of it, and the guy just puts his hand in there and was able to spoof the fingerprint reader.
Right.
It was very funny.
It would have been I think it was more believable in 1993 than it is in 2016.
It definitely was. Definitely was.
Yeah. So Glove Guy is up to no good, and he's kind of covertly sneaking around there, and I thought this was a little ridiculous. He had his little tactic for taking out the security camera. He didn't put like a fake picture in front of the security camera. He didn't disconnect the cable. He just tilted it up.
Just moved it.
So if somebody was actually sitting there watching that at the other end, you see this static image of a hallway, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you see some dude dressed in all black, because he came toward the camera, if I remember correctly. He walked like down the hallway as if the camera was looking right at him, unless the camera was looking off to the side. They didn't quite notice that.
To me, it looked like it was looking off to the left.
Maybe it was. Okay.
He snuck down the right side of the hallway.
But then just point the camera right up.
Point it right up, and then just moved on his way.
Yeah.
Used the power glove again.
Yes.
Got into a new room, but he took out what looked like... You ever seen Old Country, No Country for Old Men?
No. Yeah, I did. A long time ago.
Remember Javier Bardem's cattle prod gun?
No, but I thought of a cattle prod when I saw the thing.
Yeah, so for the listeners, this thing looks like it looks like one of those arms that you take out that's got the grippy thing that you can reach out and grab things on far shelves.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen one of those on like one of those 2 a.m. infomercials.
Yeah.
Can't reach something above? No problem. Use the Grippy Master or whatever it is.
Exactly. If you're riding around the grocery store and you're a little rascal and you can't reach the high shelf, you take out your Grip Master and you grab the can of beans on the top shelf because that's the better deal.
Of course.
This guy has a similar contraption, and it's about as long, except instead of grippy hands at the end, it looks like a little air, like a nozzle.
It's a gun.
It's a gun. And we find out it's a gun. Uses power glove, gets into the door, walks inside, walks up behind a guy who is sitting at a computer panel, and you
pops
hear...
him.
Pops him. It sounds like a silenced gun.
Yeah.
Guy shoots him. Roll credits. We start the episode.
Right. So now I made a note of this. The entire opening is complete ripoff of Star Trek. We're talking with the voiceover. Yes,
the
oceans have been colonized. Yes. The SeaQuest is here to protect the oceans. Blah 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 blah. Just like space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. These are the voyages of the SeaQuest DSV. It's a complete clone of Star Trek.
I'm trying to think of things to kind of discredit you. I don't want it to be a complete clone, but I can't.
Well, no,
you're right though. I can't.
I know I'm right.
It's got the shots of the episode where you've got...
Well, those are all generic shots.
Yeah, they're all generic shots.
It's shots of all the different, people in action, the various cast members and everything.
Ocean, you've got dolphins swimming around, which is similar to some of the planetary shots they do in Star Trek.
Right. It's an oceanified version of Star Trek.
I would call it an homage rather than a ripoff.
You know what? If you want to go there, I'm going to put it right on the line.
Okay.
I'm going to put it right on the line. My opinion, it's on the line of ripoff. Your opinion is on the other side of homage.
I'm with you. I can see it. I can
Yeah.
see the similarities.
There's clear inspiration.
Yes.
Clear inspiration.
Yes.
And I mean, even if you saw, we didn't see too much of the layout of the bridge and whatnot, but even the layout of the bridge is not that different from Star Trek. There's, 2 stations that face directly forward to a massive screen. Mm-hmm. Then there's science stations along the rear sides of the bridge. So I mean, it's very, very similar.
For me, this episode wasn't a good example of the SeaQuest itself because we didn't spend much time at all on there. But
no, and there's some fantastic episodes. Yeah. There's some other really great episodes in the series that have more to do with the SeaQuest. So I would certainly invite you to watch them.
Maybe we can come back to the show.
I would love it.
Yeah,
I would love it. This is one of the episodes I most think of when I think of SeaQuest, mainly because of the whole computer thing and the ridiculousness of it. But there's There's a few other really good ones. I mean, there's I'm fairly certain, if I remember correctly, there is even one with like a giant squid that attaches itself to the SeaQuest like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So,
Nice.
Anyway, not to get too far off topic.
Yeah. So credits happen.
And then we see a celebrity in the credits, other than Roy Scheider, of course.
Who's
Steven Spielberg.
Oh, that's right. Executive producer Steven Spielberg.
Right. Now, I think that just adds to the cool factor, and I think having him on this was just awesome.
Yeah, I had no idea. Steven Spielberg, seeing him in the credits as an executive producer lends, to me, so much weight to it.
And it adds some clout to the show.
Oh, yeah. I think one of the contributing factors to... Oh, that was wet. I apologize. It's like an answering call.
That microphone is going to be like forever stained now.
No.
That's. I mean, I've done worse with this one, but anyway.
Oh, Jesus.
We're never going to get on. We're never going to get done.
Oh, we got this.
Yeah, I know. All right. So Steven Spielberg, executive producer.
I was excited to see that.
You reacted quite significantly when it came on screen.
Yeah, how often do we watch shows that have big name producers, big name directors, big names?
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg is the guy that brought you Jaws. He's the guy that brought you E.T.
But some people have little names too.
Some people do have little names, and not to take away from them.
Right. Like Bruce Lee. He has a little name.
It's short.
It's a little name. Steven Spielberg's a really long name. It's a big name.
I see what you did there.
All right.
Moving right along.
I can tell our listeners are like, come on, get to the point. But our podcast never have a point, so it's fine.
So the credits happen, and now the date is 2019. So this is 9 years later.
Right. And evidently 3 years from now.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So the SeaQuest is already patrolling the seas.
Right.
And we've got Lucas.
Who is just like a teenager dude.
Yeah, actor Jonathan Brandis. So, again, no familiarity with any of these people. I see this guy, Lucas, this kid, Lucas. He looks to be about 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Wandering around the ship. Everybody's wearing a uniform. But Lucas is wearing a baseball jersey with Eagles, an Eagles baseball team jersey, and he's just kind of wandering around the SeaQuest, just bumping into everybody. Just can't stay out of anybody's way.
Right, and there's backstory involving him that you would learn in other episodes and everything, but
I was under the impression that he was the captain's kid. The way that they had their relationship, it was a very
father-son relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, and I could see that. And for most of the series, that's pretty much how they are. They are like father and son, but they are not related.
Okay, well,
they're not related.
I like their relationship in this show. He was very petulant and kind of just angsty in the beginning, and I really was
Typical
like,
kid.
Oh my god, I'm gonna hate this guy.
Yeah.
So he was, get off the bridge, Lucas. You're bumping into everybody. Get out of here. So he gets out of here, and then the captain comes back and is like, "Where's Lucas?"
Yeah.
Oh, he just left. Well, he needs to be here. I want him to be on the bridge for a learning experience. So,
yeah. So I mean, clear little miscommunication there. And so Lucas goes back to his room. He's sitting in there kind of pouting, and he logs on to this Internex thing, which I couldn't figure this thing out. Is it a game? Is it a chat room? It kind of looked like a really early basic version of like Second Life.
Yes, that's funny you should say that.
And basically Lucas logs on as Frankenstein, and he essentially is a videoified version of, Frankenstein. And we meet Wolfman, who I guess is a friend of his. And, Wolfman's like, "Hey, man, I got to go. I got to run." And he's like, "Oh, even you don't want to talk to me." Like, everybody is just giving Lucas the third degree.
It appeared to be an interactive game controlled or written by Lucas. That's what it appeared to be like. But so his avatar was the Frankenstein monster.
Right.
The Wolfman monster shows up, and they have their exchange that you just mentioned, and then he goes away. So then he kind of closes it up, and it just was, what was that?
I don't know what, I mean, it was some kind of online social thing.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I immediately thought of Second Life.
It's like Club Penguin. To me, it like, oh, I can't believe I just brought that up.
Me neither. I don't even know what it is.
You don't know what Club Penguin is?
Nope.
I'm not going to get too far into it, but think of it as a chat room where you are a penguin and you can kind of interact with other penguins in this chat room. That's as far as I'm going to go. I will not say another word about it except it appeared to be like Club Penguin. If you want to know more, look it up. Do not judge me.
Hey, no problem. All right, so now Lucas is in his room, and finally Captain Bridger comes over to Thing and says, "Hey, Lucas, I need you to come to the bridge. Get your scrawny little teenage butt up here."
Right.
And so finally Lucas shows up, and he's like, "Yeah, what do you want?" And Lucas is like, "Oh, nobody wanted me here." Captain's like, "I did." And, then Captain's like, "We got this message where we need to go to node 3 and there's some kind of computer problem." And Lucas is like, "Oh, you don't need me unless there's some kind of computer problem." Because Lucas, as you will find out, is a bit of a genius, a bit of a computer genius, even to the point where he created a device that allowed them to speak to their pet dolphin named Darwin, who lives on, he swims around the SeaQuest, he swims around this tube that can be viewed from, many different areas. And he
Swim so free.
he can swim past like Lucas's bedroom and stuff like that. And he made this thing where they can talk to Darwin and just speak English to him, and Darwin just responds to him, but he only uses single or like 2-word sentences. So it's not like they can hold a full conversation. But so Lucas is kind of a genius. And Captain is saying, well, we're going to go over to this node 3 and bring them these parts that they need, and they requested to speak with you and blah blah blah. So he's like, okay, well, whatever, that's fine. So they and then Lucas is like, well, I want to get paid. I'm tired of being just a guy that walks around the ship here. I want a salary. I want to be on the books. And Captain's like, well, okay, we'll talk about it. And he doesn't completely shut him down, which I think is kind of nice. And next thing we know, we're over at node 3.
Which, first off, despite all of that, despite the captain being like, yeah, whatever, the captain's not quite humoring him, but acknowledging his request, and
right.
Lucas still storms off.
Oh, well, he's got the drama queen mentality.
He sure does.
Yeah, and
sure does.
You'll see that later on, too.
So they pull up to node 3, and pretty impressive CGI work. This is the SeaQuest pulling up and docking at what appears to be a sea lab or a colony. Mm-hmm. And it's, of course, it's under the ocean, so it's all dark blue and things like that. But the nodes or the pods that make up this node are like 4 or 5 pinkish colored pods. Yep. And the SeaQuest kind of just nestles up next to one and docks. And it was really well done. For 1993, I thought it was great graphics.
Yeah, and that's probably where Steven Spielberg might have been helping out.
Yeah.
Making this look believable. And that's one of the things, not to go too far off topic, but one of the things that makes Star Trek so great, and I think one thing that makes this so great, is that everything is completely believable. If you were to tell somebody that didn't know, hey, this is a true story, there's actually a ship in the sea called SeaQuest and underwater colonies, we know it's not true, but it doesn't necessarily have to not be true.
Yeah, it's really not that far out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, that's a better way of saying it.
If we can just get our shit together.
Right. Exactly.
We could be exploring space, we could be colonizing the oceans.
That's right.
God damn it, people.
Come on. Anyway, so we so now we're over at node 3. And we get into node 3, and then as soon as the airlock opens up, everybody's saying, "Hi, how are you?" Meeting all the people there. And instantly, Lucas is recognized as this major celebrity. They're like, oh my God, you're Lucas, you're Frankenstein. Oh my God. They know him there.
Which was kind of weird for me watching this show, because
I thought you might say that.
Why do all these people know Lucas? Why are they all up on him? What has he done? What makes him so special? Because so far, I hate this guy.
Yeah. So far, he's behaved like the brat that he is.
Yeah.
But, now we start to see that he's spent time on this internex thing. He's met Wolfman, he meets his buddy Wolfman, who we find out is actually played by Seth Green.
Seth Green?
And yeah, Seth Green, if you're not familiar with, from the Austin Powers movies, he was, he was Dr. Evil's kid. Just anyway. So he's there, and they finally meet each other for real, and whatnot. And then you meet the head of Node 3, which is this guy. Was it Oscar Clemens? I forget his real name.
And I call him in my notes Mycroft the whole
that's
time.
What I called him too.
That's his hacker name, but
right.
The character's name is Martin Clemens.
That's right. So Martin Clemens, or AKA Mycroft, we're going to refer to him in the podcast here. We're going to refer to him as Mycroft, just for easiness.
Yes, and Seth Green's character, I'm going to refer to him as Nick. I'm not going to refer to him as his Wolfman avatar.
Right. So Wolfman and Nick are the same person, essentially.
Apparently, Luke... So, Lucas is recognized by a bunch of these people. Intranex is a video internet interface that Lucas interacts with other hackers on there. Turns out, Lucas is a hacker. And everybody else he interacts with on there, and everybody he's interacting with at Node 3 is now, we find out, are all hackers. For the most part, they're all hackers.
Right.
And they're all kids, too.
Right.
Mycroft is one of the only adults. He motions off camera to the other adults. The captain says, so...
Aren't there any chaperones here?
Yeah, well, there's so many kids. Where are all the adults? Well, it's like, well, I'm an adult here, but... And he motions off camera. There's other adults here doing administrative work and cleaning up after ourselves. You don't got to worry about them. You'll never see them on camera.
And he's like, there's a support staff of 5. But there was like 15 or 20 kids there.
Yeah, and a ton of other nodes, or a ton of other pods that made up this node.
Right. So that was a little sketchy. Maybe if I were the captain, I would want to meet one of them, or see them in action. Even if they were sitting in an office somewhere, be like, those people over there are our support staff. Okay, that's fine.
There's a combination of Lucas being angsty and petulant, and the fact that the captain doesn't want to like mother hen him and kind of smother Lucas. So he's like, all right. He's talked into letting Lucas stay behind. Well, Mycroft talks the captain into staying behind.
Right.
And so the captain's like, all right, well, a few days, I'll call back, check up on him.
Yeah, because the SeaQuest was going to be in the area doing some work. So they, and they didn't need Lucas for what they were doing. So, Lucas was like, hey, can I stay? Can I stay? Can I stay? And the captain's like, well, yeah, okay, fine, if you want to. And he's like, yeah, I'll check back with you, and then, and they take everybody into their sort of main control room to give them a little tour. This is before the captain leaves. And what did you think of this control room? I'm dying to know what you think of this, because you basically walk into this black room with maps of the flattened globes on the wall with all these like laser lines connecting all the continents. In these little pew pew pew, things all over the wall. What did you think of this room?
Poor. Awful. Terrible. I thought it was disrespectful to the technology community.
Really?
Yes.
Please elaborate.
So we've got... your description actually was very, very accurate. I'm going to try to expand on it if I can.
And just for the record, there were these things on the wall, and then there was like 5 or 6 terminals.
Yeah, terminal. I was going to describe them as cubes, but a terminal is probably even more accurate.
Yeah, because they weren't cubular like our offices are. They were like pod terminals.
So think of a large room, not the size not unlike the size of a medium-sized. What's that?
Movie theater.
Movie theater?
Yeah.
Yeah, movie theater is probably a good descriptor there. I was going to say a hotel conference room, maybe. But so this is a large black room, and it's got several large, I'd say 60, 70-inch monitors on the wall, 3 of them connected, all of them with identical maps of the world. And all of them having the same red laser lines flashing across it into a specific pattern that was meant to look random, but kept repeating over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's the back wall. Now, you already mentioned there are, what was it, 4, maybe 6 terminals?
I think 6, yeah.
About 6. So this terminal was really a desk that had, we'll call it 32-inch monitor in front of it.
Yeah.
That had a split keyboard. So it was imagine your typical Windows PC computer keyboard that's split in half and separated by a have you ever played Golden Tee, that golf game in the arcades?
Yeah, like a giant trackball.
Giant trackball,
which they never used, by the way.
Separating the two halves of the keyboard.
And the keyboard, I should mention, was flush mounted into the
desk.
Yeah. But it was at an angle, so it was extremely ergonomic.
I would disagree.
You don't think so? Because
It did not
you
look
sit down,
ergonomic.
you look where your hands go. Your hands going to go right to where those keys are.
Your hands, right now I'm looking at your hands, and also remembering the terminal, your hands are tilted outward, so your thumb is lower than your pinkies. So typing like that's how you want to do it, just like that.
So for those who are not watching me, I have my hands pointed my hands are at like 45-degree angles with my thumbs kind of coming to a point. That's what you should be doing.
Yes.
But the keyboards were, if you imagine, my hands are now directly above, like hovering above the table.
Palms facing outward. Just say palms facing downward and outwards.
Yeah, exactly. And thumbs kind of downward at a 45-degree angle, and then the keys were kind of flush mounted there. So I guess I stand corrected. It's not very ergonomic.
It looks ergonomic. It certainly does, but that your hands don't naturally fall in that position.
Right.
I work with a guy, he sits next to me. He's got a keyboard like that, so it kind of tilts up. It splits in half and tilts up. So if you just put your arms straight out in front of you like you're going to shake somebody's hand, and then just tilt your palms in so your thumbs are almost touching, that's how this keyboard is set up. And that's how your hands naturally fall.
Right.
This keyboard, this terminal, not only is it separated by a humongous, I want to say,
giant trackball.
I can't really get away from the Golden Tee golf game, arcade game, but it's a huge trackball.
Or any bowling arcade game.
I was thinking, bowling. If you're a bowling arcade game, it's a trackball that size.
Yeah.
It's just, and the keyboard separated out. It's just terrible. It's
and the
terrible.
keys are farther apart than shoulder width.
Yeah.
So like imagine we just talked about your thumbs being downward at a 45-degree angle, palms facing outward. Now move your arms wider than shoulder width apart, and that's where your keys are.
And that's how they typed.
Yeah,
that's how they typed.
Ridiculous.
So we just described one station. There are 5 more of those in this room.
Right.
And Mycroft is the guy that kind of walks around and monitors everybody and gives them pep talks and lets them know what's going on. So as Lucas comes in, takes this tour, he comes in, sits down at one of the terminals, and Nick Wolfman sits down at another terminal, and they just start playing a game together. No, they don't.
No, Mycroft invites him. He's like, "Here, sit down, give it a try." And they start playing this game, and all he's doing, I mean, I couldn't even figure out what he was playing. It looked like it was some kind of flatten a Rubik's Cube type of thing.
Yeah, so Mycroft says, you have level 1 access. There's a ton of bandwidth in here. Don't worry about the bandwidth. We have What is it?
100 exabaud.
Exabaud. I wrote that down too. What the hell is an exabaud? Can we look that up right now?
Sure.
Just do a quick exabaud search.
Baud is related to gross bit rate expressed as bits per second.
So it's legit?
Yeah, it is legit. 100 exabaud. So what is exa then? Exa is a prefix for 10 to the 18th power.
So they've got a lot of baud with.
They got a lot of baud.
They got a lot of baud.
They got a lot of baud to play with. Lots of baud. 100 exabaud.
I was scoffing at them, but I have to tip my hat to them. They did their research.
Yeah, 100 exabaud worth of bandwidth. I mean, that's like downloading terabytes in seconds, I would think.
Terabytes, petabytes, maybe?
Yeah, because I think beyond petabytes is exabytes.
Yeah, large amounts of data is being transmitted. Yes.
Copious.
So yeah, I take back my ridicule that I was about to lay upon the writers of the show.
Right.
I apologize to C-Lab. I apologize to Steven Spielberg. I also apologize to the writer of this episode, Michael Cassett. I also apologize to the director, Steve Dubin.
Thank you.
Moving right along.
Yeah. Okay, so now we know about that, and the captain decides to let Lucas hang for a bit and whatnot. So now the captain leaves, and then what happens?
So we're in. Lucas is given level 1 access. He reaches all the way to level 4, playing this weird cube game.
Yeah.
And everyone is so impressed. Everyone is super impressed with Lucas.
Yeah. And this is at the point now where Captain leaves.
Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot the captain was still there. I totally wrote him off. Yeah, the captain's like, is it okay if I leave you here, Lucas? And Lucas is like, yeah, whatever. And the captain waves his fingers in front of Lucas's eyes, and Lucas just doesn't react.
Lucas is still playing with his Rubik's Cube. So Lucas is like, yeah, fine, go ahead, go by. So El Capitan decides to leave and takes, him and the SeaQuest leave and do their little thing. And now Lucas is back there with the crew in the main room, and Mycroft comes back in and basically says, all right, everybody, let's get back to work.
Yeah, and what is the work?
What is the work?
Intercepting money transfers.
Right.
So Mycroft...
Well, intercepting money transfers, but also more on the broad scope of things, they were manipulating transactions.
Yes.
Because the first transaction they did was Mycroft had Lucas pull up Brazil. And he was like, okay, well, pick something that's going on, because he was looking at this topographical map, which essentially reminded me of like monitoring network traffic, monitoring like topical network traffic. What were people doing searches for? What were people doing stuff? Now, what I find ridiculous is that this is 1993. They were monitoring traffic that looked like it was at the level of 2016. I don't think there was that much traffic going on in Brazil back then. I could be wrong.
No, but this is 2019.
That's true. That's true. I didn't take that into account.
They're not only redirecting transfers to places that need it. So Mycroft deems hospitals.
Well, hold on. You're getting ahead. So because in this one, he says to Lucas, "Okay, pull up one area of traffic here." Lucas pulls up voting concerns or something like that.
You're talking about the Brazil voting thing where he puts a thing. Yeah, that happens after.
No, that happened before.
Okay.
Yeah, it happened before. So Lucas is like, "Yeah, here's a voting whatever," and then voting concerns, and then Mycroft says, "Make it right," and then Lucas is like, "Okay," and then you see him start clacking away at the unergonomic keyboard, and then next thing you know, he says, "I implanted a monitoring virus that if it detects people cheating on voters, it will notify us." So it's like, okay, now we're starting to see what the real goal of this Node 3 is. This Node 3 kind of intercepts transactions of whether it's information, money, whatever it is, intercepts transactions and changes the outcome of the transaction to benefit the greater good.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, back on the SeaQuest.
Well, not yet, but yes. Meanwhile, back on the SeaQuest.
Yeah, Captain is talking to some broad about
And the broadsheet is the head of the science department, Dr. Westphalen.
Really? Can you tell me more? Who is this person?
I don't know enough about Dr. Westphalen, but I know she is like the chief science officer. She's also the ship's doctor. I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 90% sure about SeaQuest, about their relationship with SeaQuest. But they're friends though. Either way, they're friends, and they're talking,
good friends.
Yeah, they're talking about how the captain kind of thinks, did I do the right thing? Is it okay leaving Lucas? I kind of want to call him, see how he's doing, but I don't want to be overbearing. And the general consensus is just give him space. He'll call you, reach out to you, let you know he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now what?
Yeah. So now we go back to. So now we're back to the Node 3, and we're seeing Lucas become adjusting to life in the data center.
Right.
So he's cooking food, and hilarious to me. So the camera comes in, and we're seeing people prepare food. By putting it into a microwave.
And the camera is just to imagine this, the camera is at microwave level, and the microwave is on an average height table.
Yeah, so you've got arms putting food on plate, unwrapping wrappers, putting those plates in the microwave.
Right.
And somebody comes up to the person's left, Lucas, and the camera raises up just a little bit, moves to the left, and just rests on a pair of breasts. Pair of tits just right front and center camera.
Yeah, you made me rewind that a couple of times.
Just once, because I want to draw your attention to it.
It was a couple of times.
All right, well, because it was ridiculous. Was it not ridiculous?
No, it was because you hear Lucas talking to somebody, and then you see like tits, and then camera goes up and you see Juliana's face, and the two of them were talking about how they wound up there, and she said how she wound up on the node and all that good stuff. And then it's just kind of a little exposition and whatnot,
a little bit of character background as well. They talk about Mike Croft. They also talk about Nick and how he was in MIT until 17 years old, which apparently is shameful because everybody else is so much smarter. He's still catching up to everybody else.
Right.
But they sit down, they talk a bit more about Mycroft, how he was in the government, how he brought down DARPANet, which is the U.S. government's defense network. And
this is how you were talking about all the different nets that were involved, right?
Yeah, he was. We find out more a bit later, but this Mycroft was in net after net after net.
Yeah.
It was.
And at no point in the entire episode do they say internet.
They never say internet.
Nope. It's always, DARPANet, ARPANET, blah, blah, net, but they never say internet.
Yeah.
So now I think we find our way back into Juliana's room, and she's talking to Lucas. This is after they finished eating. And she's talking to Lucas, and she's like, well, blah, blah, blah. And that's how and just like when I hacked the UEO codes.
Yes.
And Lucas is like, what?
And this is for me, this is the first mention of UEO codes. And I just assumed like, oh, yeah, some high level encryption codes.
Right.
But after talking to you a few minutes ago about UEO,
right.
This is government level encryption.
Correct.
This is on standard to today's AES 256-bit encryption.
Right.
Government level encryption.
Right.
So
this is a big deal.
This is a big deal.
And then we find out that she hacked UEO's codes to send the message to SeaQuest to get him there.
And Luke is like, no, you didn't. Yes, I did. It's not a big deal. It's like, yes, it is a big deal. No, you didn't. It's like, yes, I did. It's not a big deal. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. And Lucas just can't wrap his mind around the fact that she did this. So it turns out she's socially engineering him at Mycroft's request to get Lucas here.
Right.
And to expand on that, she then invites him into her bedroom and just starts making out with him. Oh, you're so cute. I was expecting somebody smart, but based off of your avatar, Frankenstein, wasn't expecting you to be so cute. She's
smooches,
gagging for it.
Total smooches.
Just goes up to him, just starts making out with him.
Yeah. Then we find ourselves in the main computer room, and this is where the plot starts to thicken.
Yeah, so here we have Lucas and Nick playing games with each other, and this is like some weird triangle game.
Now I found this really interesting because if you're a fan of Star Trek, there is a 3-leveled version of chess that they play very often on Star Trek, and this was a 3-leveled, 3-sided checkers game.
Star Trek original,
like
the original series Star Trek, they played this. There wasn't a hologram for it, but it was they had legit 3-level chess game.
Yeah, so
there as well.
Another similarity to Star Trek. But now we're in there, and they're kind of doing a little bit of playing and everything, and then Mycroft walks in, and is like, okay, everybody, we're gonna get to work now, and now you find out what Mycroft wants to do. Was this when they were looking him up yet?
No, this is happening later. This is I really want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But Mycroft comes in and just pretty much waxes melodramatic about the corruption and I've seen some shit, kids. You don't know my life. We've got to do.
You don't know me.
We've got to do better for the world here.
Right.
And he just kind of teases at it, almost like, ask me about my past. Ask me about my past so I can say no.
Yeah.
But he doesn't quite get there.
And Mycroft basically says, okay, now it's time, Lucas, it's time for you to make the world better.
Yeah, and he goes on to describe what specifically they're doing, and the reason Lucas was brought here is to gain control of the World Bank. If you control the money, you control the world. Right,
and this is where you could see that Lucas is starting to have major second thoughts about all this.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that Lucas is having second thoughts about this because of Mycroft's speech, the way he delivered his message, the way he delivered the goal.
And I would think his mysterious past didn't help either.
It didn't help at all.
Right. So he's like, okay, I'm not feeling this, but obviously Mycroft is being very melodramatic and charismatic, and Lucas decides to do it, and he starts jumping in, starts coding and doing his thing. And after a brief little montage, we see that Lucas goes, "Hey, I can't do it. It's the encryption is just too strong. It's not going to work." And then Wolfman or Nick steps up behind him and goes, "Try a reduction algorithm."
I know, right? The montage cuts of the terminal windows and showing the work and the passing of time,
which looked completely fake.
It was not cool. It was shots of their faces as they were typing, but then shots of the terminal screens, command lines and
which
code being
didn't look
written in.
anything like a command line.
No, it didn't.
It was so fake.
Yeah.
And Lucas looks like he'd been at it for hours, and he's like, "Oh, I just can't do it." But he'd been at it for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I can't do it. It's just way too crazy." And then Nick is like, "Try a reduction algorithm," and he's like, "That could work." And then he's in.
So why couldn't Nick do this in the first place?
Yeah, what'd you need Lucas for?
Anyway.
Whatever.
So they get it, and I just want to point this out. After they were successful, so he successfully hacked it, and everyone's celebrating, there was an uncomfortable amount of kisses delivered to Lucas by Julianne.
Yeah.
Or Juliana, what's her name?
Either one.
Whatever.
Jules. She was smooch, and more smooch.
It was not cool. It's like there's so many people around, and you're just mwah, mwah, mwah. It's like, ugh, come on, stop it.
I don't have this woman sound effect, but I'd be playing it right now.
Yeah, this would be appropriate for it.
Yeah. But just weird, totally weird. So now everybody's all celebrating, and then this is where we notice that Lucas is like, "Hey, we need to look up who this Mycroft dude is."
Yeah. So, hang on. The next scene, we've got the captain calling Lucas.
Right.
So he's all like, "Hey, Lucas, how's it doing?" And Lucas is like, "Fine, I love it here. It's great. Do you want to come back soon?" He's like, "I'll be back in a while," just keeping it vague on purpose.
Right.
And the captain's like, "Well, maybe you should at least tell your parents what's going on." And here's why, obvious, they're not related, but
yeah.
Still, I was kind of intrigued in the backstory. Well, are his parents on the SeaQuest?
No.
They're not on the SeaQuest.
They're not.
Are they land dwellers or are they on a node underground?
Land.
Or they're on land?
Yeah.
Well, Captain's like, you should call your parents. And he's like, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's like, no, the responsible thing to do is to reach out to the people and that love you and let them know what you're up to. Whether you're going to come back or not, they should at least know what's going on in your life.
Agreed.
Which is admirable. That's good advice, Captain.
Yeah.
So Lucas is like, maybe I'll talk to you later, and he hangs up and goes back to getting all makey-outy with the Red Menace, Julianne.
Right. Okay. So now they're all kind of sitting around, and this is where they all sort of collectively decide, hey, we need to know what Mycroft's past is.
Yeah, so I thought it was funny that they were Lucas and Julianne were making out in her room again, and in comes Nick with brain food. It looks like just a couple cans of Red Bull or whatever.
Yeah,
and she is just so pissed. Like, come on, what are you doing?
She got what's the word? She got twat blocked, I guess, by him.
Yeah, she was twat blocked.
She was about to get, Lucas was about to take her to the Bone Zone.
He was the conductor. He was conducting her to the Bone Zone.
The Bone Zone Express.
And here comes Nick, just blocking away.
So she just totally got twat blocked.
Twat blocked, totally. So he comes in, they start talking about, well, Mycroft, what about him? Aren't you interested in his past? And Julian's like, no, what I don't know won't hurt me. I am okay with things how they are. Nick and Lucas just kind of talk it out. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm interested. I want to find out about this. So they get up and they go, and
they run into the computer lab and they start digging up information on Mycroft, and you find out that he's ex-CIA and he worked in the military and did all this other stuff, and then they find this video footage, which is him killing the Chinese dude that we saw from the beginning.
Yeah.
So the very beginning montage with the guy in the Nintendo Power Glove, that was actually Mycroft.
Which... And I'm glad we're here at this point. There's a couple of things because this area is kind of confusing. They go in, they dig through the nets. They get blocked. The internet. Lucas gets blocked, and Nick says, "Well, just go into the defend net."
Yeah.
So he goes on the defend net, and he finds more. So before they get to the video, Mycroft's face comes up on the monitors. You remember this?
Yes.
He comes up on the monitors, and Julianne comes in the room. Mycroft's face comes up on the three big monitors and says, I want the room. Everybody out except for Wolfman and Frankenstein.
Right.
So was Mycroft aware of what they were doing?
I don't know. And that's a really good question because we don't know if Julianne went and got him and told him.
Right. And
that's a really good question.
His face just inexplicably comes up like he was monitoring the system, caught them in the act.
Right.
But then his face goes away, and they keep digging, as if nothing had happened.
Right.
So
and then 2 minutes later, he walks in.
2 minutes later, he walks in. But one of the things that I found interesting, and maybe we can go back and check this, in the very beginning, the guy with the Nintendo Power Glove, he did have dark pigment. His skin was dark, but I didn't think it was a black man who was as dark as Mycroft.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't notice his hands too well. I thought they were gloved, but I don't know for sure. I'd have to look at it again.
In addition to that, we've got the video, front-facing video of Mycroft coming into the room, so we see his face. Again,
shot from the computer like a webcam.
Didn't look like a black guy.
Yeah.
To me, anyway, didn't look like a black guy. Obviously, it's 9 years later.
Right.
Mycroft is older. He's grown a mustache.
But
he's not wearing a
still
beret.
Have been black 9 years before.
He didn't look as dark as the guy coming through the door who killed the Chinese guy.
Right. Then again, the video quality on that was pretty poor.
It was kind of poor, but something I noticed.
Yeah. No, I that's definitely bears going back and reinvestigating.
Yeah.
But now, now this is sort of like the culmination of the plot, and you sort of see Mycroft really kind of going adamantly expressing what he wants to do. Oh, I've seen all this stuff and I want to make the world right and blah, blah, blah. And that's why I brought you here, Lucas. And Lucas is like, well, that's not right. I'm going to shut the node down. And then they go back and forth, kind of trying to out-hack each other.
Yes.
And Lucas is like, Lucas has this quote.
Well, we kind of skip ahead because he explains himself.
Right.
Mycroft explains himself, but then Lucas is like, all right, well, maybe I'll go along with it. And then he calls the captain for advice.
That's right. I'm sorry. Okay, so Mycroft catches them in the act, and then they talk about, Mycroft talks about what he wants to do, and, all this stuff kind of comes out. Then you see Lucas talking to the captain again.
Yeah. Mycroft is basically mad because he had to kill a guy, and then when he didn't tell his employers, the U.S. government, how he crashed a Chinese system after killing the guy, they took him off the team. They basically fired him.
Right.
So he got mad about that, disappeared for 3 years, and now wants to control the World Bank to stop greed, corruption, and things like that.
Right.
So that's basically his reason for doing this. He was forced to kill somebody and was fired for not divulging how he, quote unquote, saved the U.S. government or saved the world.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah, now we're at Lucas talking to the captain, asking for advice.
And this is I really like this conversation, because it wasn't a, hey, Captain, something really weird is going on over here. They want me to hack into the bank and blah, 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 blah. It was a very mature conversation, but it was also like Lucas being very careful about how he chose his words very wisely.
I like that also. I really, really enjoyed that.
Kind of talking about what about responsibility, if you hurt someone, how does that affect you, things like that. Really asking some very adult questions. And I think that ultimately led him to behave the way that he did in the next scene.
Because Lucas's concern is, yes, if we control the money, then we control whether people are greedy or corrupt or not. But on that same token, armies won't get paid. Businesses will go under and will hurt more people if we do this than if we don't. So while his Mycroft's sentiment is good, his heart is in the right place, he's going about it the wrong way.
Exactly.
So Lucas, quote unquote, goes along with it up to a certain point, but once Mycroft has Nick and Julianne and Lucas working on getting control of the World Bank, Lucas goes rogue and decides, you know what, I'm shutting it down.
Right. And then Mycroft is like, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Then the two of them start going at it and trying to out-hack each other. And there's some, yelling back and forth. And, Lucas has this line where he says, I'm just trying to see if I wrote it down. You can't help someone until you know who they are. Yeah.
He shuts everything down, and Mike, his reasoning was just that. You can't. It's you're going about the wrong way.
Right. You can't just help people. You have to know who you're helping, so you know how to help them and help them the right way.
Perfect. I couldn't have said it better.
So it's like, you may be moving money to some other organization, but you don't know anything about that organization. You don't know if that's the right organization that needs the money or, whatever it is. So I agree with you. He's going about it the wrong way. And he amazingly convinced Mycroft of his errors.
Which I thought was bullshit.
Ridiculous.
First off, Mycroft jumps up and tries to choke out a 19-year-old. So he gets mad when Lucas beats him, out-hacks him, and prevents Mycroft from completing his plan. So he jumps up and starts trying to choke Lucas out.
Yeah.
So what happens?
So Seth Green jumps up.
And replays the video of Mycroft killing the Chinese agent.
Which
and
traumatizes him.
Puts it on loop over and over again. And this incapacitates Mycroft to the point where he can be talked into giving up his 9-year ambition of controlling the world. This guy has probably seen that video himself over and over again. It's haunted his sleep.
Right.
It's been this driving motivation for 9 years and seeing it again on loop for about 30 seconds and some 19-year-olds talk him out of this?
Ridiculous.
Come on, man. Have some conviction.
Right.
Your conviction is that unstable that you can be talked out of it by some 19-year-olds?
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself, Mycroft.
Yeah, exactly. So he changes his mind, and just all too conveniently, I will say. So now Lucas is saying his goodbyes, so it's clear that some time has passed.
Yes.
And Lucas is arranging to go back aboard the SeaQuest, and he's saying goodbye to Seth Green. And saying, "Hey man, I'll see you on the Intermex, the little social network thing."
Club Penguin.
Yeah, exactly. And then he sees Juliana, or as I refer to her as Smooches McGee. He sees Smooches McGee, and they're like, "Hey, it was really nice meeting you," and blah blah blah, And finally, Captain walks in as they're kind of hugging goodbye, and Captain's like, "Oh, she's cute."
Yeah.
And you find out that Mycroft is going to hitch a ride on the SeaQuest, I guess, to go face the music kind of thing, or go turn himself in. You don't really find out what's going to happen to him.
I think him and Lucas and everybody who witnessed the thing that was going on in the hotel conference room or the data center or whatever. That was a poor joke. But everyone who witnessed it, they kind of like, all right, Mycroft, you cool off, get away from here, get a fresh start somewhere else. We won't say anything. You won't say anything.
They never established what his outcome was.
No, but he was going to hitch a ride on SeaQuest along with Lucas until he goes where he's going to go, and he'll be dropped off, and he'll start anew someplace else.
If that's what he's doing, or if he's going to have to turn himself in and stand trial, we don't know.
If he was smart, he was going to go someplace else and do the same thing again, away from meddling kids who know about him.
Exactly.
But he has some kind of administrative position at this data center at Node 3, and he's leaving, and Julianne is staying behind. She's
functioning She's functioning as sort of like, I guess, the head of Node 3 until they send a replacement.
Until a replacement comes to take Mycroft's place.
So that, to me, sounds like the people who run Node 3 know Mycroft is leaving, so either he's going because he's resigning, or, that's too big of a plot hole to leave open.
Yeah.
I think we need to know what's happening to Mycroft.
Yeah.
But anyway, everybody starts to head back towards the SeaQuest, and then the commander, who I believe is the first officer, hands Lucas an envelope, and Lucas is like, "What's this?" And they said, "Hey, well, in the beginning they said earlier you wanted a salary. Here's your salary. You're officially a member of the crew now."
Retroactive.
Right. And as he's sort of walking into the ship, he goes, "Is this enough?"
Always wanting more.
Obnoxious freaking brat.
Give him an inch.
Roll credits.
Roll credits.
Right. So that's SeaQuest. What did you think of it, man? Did you like it?
I liked it a lot. I especially liked the end when the credits rolled.
Oh, yes.
They had a real-life Navy officer talking about...
It was actually a guy from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute.
Really?
Giving some, sort of ocean awareness or like environmental awareness, lesson.
Kind of like your Captain Planet PSA?
It was like the more you know, but, ocean edition.
Yeah. So he
very weird.
It was
like,
weird,
really out of place.
But I liked it though. I liked that there's a little tidbit of information. His specific factoid was that they are really connecting the world via the ocean by laying fiber optic cables.
Right.
So we can communicate across the oceans.
The pathways of tomorrow are being laid today.
That's what he said, and God damn it, has it not been true?
It's totally true.
Yeah.
It's totally true. And, I'll bet you someone is listening to our podcast by way of that fiber optic connection.
Gotta love the internet.
Maybe somebody over there in, somebody over in Europe or, Russia, Africa, Italy, somebody over there must be listening to us. And really, if you guys are over there listening to us, reach out to us. Let us know. We would love to know where you guys are hearing us from, because, Brian and I were in Texas, You know, we're in the middle of the United States. We'd love to know where you guys are. So tweet us at tunein_next week. Tell us where you're listening to us from. We want to know.
And maybe someday we'll meet up on Club Penguin.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Or, you know, maybe we'll do like a meetup kind of thing. You know, like we go to Vegas or something and just, you know, hang out in a little hotel conference room that we get made up to look like this.
Oh, wouldn't that be awesome?
You know, tune in next week live in Vegas. But yeah, tweet us follow us on Twitter at tunein_next week. Tell us where you're listening from. Also, if you guys want to hear any specific TV shows done on this podcast, tweet us. Let us know.
We are open to suggestion.
We're very much open to suggestion. We actually got a couple of really good suggestions that we put into the put on the list here. So definitely reach out to us. We want to hear from you guys, and we genuinely, truly appreciate everyone that supports us and follows us.
Very much like Lucas. Open to suggestion.
That's right. So I think we got to do our highlights and lowlights here because that's kind of like our staple. So highlights and lowlights. I'm going to start off here, and I'm going to say the highlight here is the overall show experience with regards to its sort of homage to Star Trek. You know, I loved Star Trek The Next Generation, how believable it was and how plausible it is. And I love the fact that SeaQuest as a whole is completely 100% plausible. I think it's entirely possible for them to manufacture a, submarine or sort of a variant on a submarine whose purpose is long distance, deep sea, exploration, preservation, helping to chart the ocean. So I love that we're bringing in, the ocean has always been something I've had an interest in. So I think it's a really cool thing. So that's sort of my general high point for the series.
There's talks of building nuclear facilities, nuclear reactors under the ocean, because one of the struggles of running a nuclear facility is cooling. And if you've got something surrounded by seawater, cold seawater, you've got a cooling system built in.
True, but then if something happens to that, it could contaminate, the ocean.
Well, yeah, and then that's one of the things. It's got to be contained first, and if there is a problem that happens, it's first and foremost, it's got to be contained.
Sure. But what did you think, man? What was your highlight of the episode?
My highlight was the digging into Mycroft's past. The different layers that they went into. I am a big fan of spy movies, spy lore, the whole thing about it. And Mycroft was a hacker who crashed the U.S. Defense Network, DARPANet. He did 3 years in prison,
Juvie.
or juvenile penitentiary, something to that effect. Once he paid his dues, the government hired him. He worked for SeaQuest's equivalent of the NSA. He also worked for the CIA in tandem, and they described kind of like a Cold War or a computer's arms race, where they were creating more sophisticated systems, and it was actually the United States and China who were going head to head, very similar to the 60s Cold War, where nuclear arms were the States and Russia. But I liked that they went into that. They had a Chinese hacker team just to combat Mycroft by himself, to the point where he did like some Metal Gear Solid stuff, where he went in and infiltrated the Chinese facility, took out the guy, and crashed their systems. And the whole thing about the one thing that kind of took it away from me was he didn't want to tell his employers how he crashed the Chinese systems, so he kind of got kicked out there. But I liked that. I liked the whole backstory of how badass Mycroft was. Not only was he great at technology, but he was just a pretty awesome spy.
Yeah, very cool. So how about a low point? What was your low point of the episode?
My low light was Julianne, her social...
Smooches McGee?
Yeah, her smooching. It was just kind of out of nowhere. It was a lot of it, and it was just unabashedly just
Out of place.
just getting kisses in public, getting kisses, awkward kisses around everybody. When her and Nick were doing whatever they were doing, and she just started making out with him, and to the point where Seth Green just had this awkward look on his face, and just like, you know what, I'll just pat you on the shoulder here, Lucas, while you take care of your business.
Yeah, well, you put your thing down.
Yeah, it was to me the worst part of the episode.
Okay. Yeah, my low light of the episode was the and this is something I have an issue with in multiple shows, where they feature computers and hackers and everything. The shit just doesn't look real enough. Their terminal windows that they're looking at. I mean, yeah, I know it was 1993, but we still had command line terminal stuff in 1993. In this show, they had these, orange and gray screens with words on it, and then there was like some circle or shape in the corner that they were trying to change the color of. I mean, it made no sense whatsoever. And even, obviously I have a computer background, so I knew what I was looking at, but it didn't remind me even remotely of being a terminal or something where you'd be hacking something like that. I didn't know what the hell it was.
This is before hacker culture really took off too. Hackers, the movie Hackers was 1995.
Okay.
So I mean, this stuff isn't that far fetched.
Yeah.
They were just sloppy in its execution in this episode.
Yeah. But at any rate, I didn't care for that interpretation of it. But that's pretty much gonna do it.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. I could go on more about Mycroft abandoning his plan, but I think we covered that pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, and I don't know if we should mention this, but unfortunately, obviously this show aired back in the mid to late 90s, but Jonathan Brandis was fairly young when he did this, but he unfortunately took his own life not long after the show, or a few years after the show ended. And apparently it was due to I guess just his career not going very well or anything like that. And it's just really sad to see, young lives being taken that way. And if you know anyone that needs the help, please have them call your suicide prevention hotline, because there's certainly better alternatives to doing that.
That number is 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-TALK 8255.
Cool. Yeah, so definitely reach out if you need any kind of help there. But aside from that, thanks again very much for listening to us. We appreciate it. Hit us up on Twitter at TuneIn_next week, and we will see you guys next time.
Tune in next week. Bam!
The 21st century. Mankind has colonized the last unexplored region on Earth, the ocean. As captain of the SeaQuest and its crew, we are its guardians. For beneath the surface lies the future.